Does last night's game say anything to you, Mazz, about Jason Tatum?
Yes, to a degree. I'll tell you what it really tells. It's something about the way the Celtics are run. That's sort of what I took out of it, and maybe this is sort of the same thing. They put too much through Tatum. They really do. And I don't know if the Celtics can win a championship without Tatum. I'm not going that far, but I'll tell you this. They play better basketball, or at least they did last night, without him there. So I think he gets in the way of them playing team basketball, as Jaylen Brown called it.
So let's immediately, or I would like to immediately draw a line of demarcation.
Sure.
You said they play better basketball. Are they a better team?
No.
Different topic.
Correct.
Do they play better basketball when he's not on the floor? Do they play is the play style better when he's not on the floor?
Yes.
That to me that's the question. And we can parse it out through the course of the day. Mazz says yes. What do you say? 617-779-0985. And is that instructive?
Yes.
Proceed.
Okay, so this is what I took away from it. Like, guys were cutting in the basket. They were getting layups. Guys were making reads. Like, the whole thing looked like a real, legit, bona fide championship caliber offense, particularly in the second half. It looked more like we've described Golden State, which you take the threes when they're there, you make them, but otherwise guys are cutting in the basket. Different guys are options on just about every play. It doesn't have to go through the same person all the time, as opposed to Jason Tatum dribbling the ball up the floor and deciding which guy he's going to pass to, which is really all they do. So one of the things that struck me last night is I felt that they went out of their way to get the ball to Brown, but he didn't bring the ball up a lot. I felt like it was, let Brown go and get open, or if someone else gets open, it was sort of the first option as a pass to get it going or get the ball out of his hand so he doesn't have to carry it up the floor. And I say carry it, but you know what I mean. The whole idea, like, I like that much better. Start it with Holiday or White. And I don't know why they don't do that with Tatum. Let Tatum just run up the floor. Why does he have to dribble the ball up the floor? Why?
Celtics fans, stop being so sensitive. Tatum fans, stop being so sensitive. I'm not doing this just to be a opponent. It's a fact. There's something wrong with the way you play. You've lost too many close series over the years to inferior opponents. You lost 3 of the first 4 to the New York Knicks, who are your vastly inferior opponent, with Jason Tatum on the floor. There's something not right about the way you play. I'm not doing that just to, be a dick. It's a fact. Okay? Stop being so sensitive. Tatum fans, stop being so sensitive. How do you lose to the Heat? How do you lose to that Warriors team? How you lost 3 of 4 to the Knicks? It's not your talent. You're more talented than those teams. It's something about the way you play. So look at last night. The organization should look at last night and not say they're not a better team without Jason Tatum. No one's saying that. But look at how they played. And I'm still not totally satisfied with how they played, by the way. But the thing that Mazz is talking about, you can look at one number. They had 27 assists last night as a team. Team assists. The night before the Tatum game, they had 15. Now, 27 is not a huge number in the grand scheme of things, but it felt like one for you because that's more than you average in the regular season. I think in the regular season, you average 26 a game, team assists, which is right in the middle of the pack in the NBA. You're right I think that might be 15th or 16th, something like that, 14th, somewhere in there in terms of team assists, which for my liking is too low. But I think that's instructive on how you play. There's a lot of iso ball.
Definitely.
The ball sticks with Tatum a lot. Okay, those 3-pointers a lot of times are off the dribble and they're not good shots. And so you went from 15 assists in that great Jason Tatum game to 27 team assists last night. Do you think that's a coincidence?
No. And again, look, it was impossible to watch that thing last night and not come away with that sentiment. So, look, we used to say this, and I'm crossing sports here, so bear with me. We used to say this about the Patriots. They became too Brady-centric. It was too much about Brady all the time. Everything was run through Brady. and they were a better team when they had a little more diversity, I think you can make a similar sort of argument with the Celtics. I think that when Jason Tatum is bringing the ball up and everything goes through, the possession starts with Tatum and ends with Tatum, and in between almost nobody touches the ball, I don't think that that's good. I think it's easier to defend. And not only that, but Tatum's pace is much different than what they played with last night. Tatum hogs the ball. And that sounds like a rip on him, but the way they built it is for him to sort of assess and distribute. And so the ball is with him constantly. I like it way more when they do what they did last night. And that thing is zipping around from guy to guy. And, the assist totals are one thing, and they were good last night. By the way, the team that leads the postseason in assists per game, Indiana, because they move the ball.
The team that led it in the regular season, I believe, was Denver.
Yeah, same type of team, and it's largely, they move the ball, and Jokic moves the ball. He moves it quickly. He doesn't hog it. He doesn't spend a lot of time dribbling it, or it moves, man. It goes. So I would rather see them play the style they played last night with Tatum on the floor. Why can't they do that?
Because it sticks with Tatum, and they ISO him, and we all know why. So I think don't be so sensitive. It's not about Tatum. He's a brilliant player. They are a better team when he's there, and they should be a better team when they're there. But there's just something off about their play style. And I think Tatum feeds into it. And I think the Tatum-centric nature of how they get at times feeds into it. And I think you saw it last night. So are you telling me that I'm not telling you I want them to be without Jason Tatum or that they're a better team? They're more talented. Of course they're not. Let's not get stupid. But you can't help but look at the way they played in some cases. Again, in others, it was chuck and duck, and they got away with it last night. But in a lot of cases, it's just different when he's not there. And I think they're better served by it. I think last night, if you care to look at it that way, you probably don't. Because you just can't. Celtics fans can't look critically at their team. And so you don't want to, so it's falling on deaf ears. But to me, it was just kind of glaring. 12 assists for Jaylen Brown. He's thrust into that role. And the key stat for him was 12 assists. And not that he's not even a great assist guy.
Right.
He had a couple really nice passes, but that's not his calling card. He's not a great passer in his career yet. But I think that's just sort of instructive of what they were last night.
And they only turned the ball over as a team. I think it was 8 times. And Brown only had a couple of those. And the other thing that struck me is I think there were only 2 guys that shot under 50%. One was Pritchard and one was Hauser. I think it was 2 for 5. Everyone else, I think, shot over 50%. And you know what that tells me? They're all engaged. They're all involved. They know that it could come to them and they could be required to shoot. They're going to be required to score some. Like, everybody feels a part of it.
Okay, which is no guarantee that lasts.
No, definitely not.
I mean, Derek White could go back to shooting the way he shot the first couple games in the series, and you can almost bank on Luke Cornett not being the same guy the next night out. I mean, that's generally the way it goes. Like, role player pops in a home game, and then he goes on the road, and all of a sudden he's not there. I mean, I can't predict any of this stuff, but you wouldn't be surprised if any of that came to pass.
Right.
And so you're not going to win on the back of Luke Cornett or those guys. It's going to be Brown and Tatum, but just the way they play. Look at the way they play. When you look at the series, Mazz, do you look at the series differently now going into New York?
Sure. Yes. I mean, from the standpoint of, first of all, it should never have come this far. The fact that it has come this far, that's the easiest place to start. This thing should be over already. It's not. But if they play like that, can they win the series? Yes. I mean, I thought they could win it anyway if they played to their capability. And last night they did, for the most part, and stylistically and both in terms of productivity. They did both of those things last night. So, yeah, it's there. Now, can I predict that the role players are going to go out in New York and do what they did last night, that Luke Cornett can repeat that? I mean, my betting odds would be against it because typically the role player game doesn't translate from to the road. So, but let's see if Brown does, and I think they're going to defend differently now too. The Knicks will, now that they know what's coming. So there'll be a huge challenge there. But if they can get it back here and they can stick to this sort of mindset and style, hell yeah, they can win the series.
The Celtics are better. They're better without Jason Tatum. I mean, at best, they're equal, but I think they're still a little better, even without Jason Tatum. With Jason Tatum, they're oodles better. And it's a joke they were even down in the series in the first place. But they were down in the series in the first place because they don't play the right way. Last night they came closer to it for sure. Not all the way there. They still shot way too many threes. And I'll have more for you on that coming up. Pressure on New York now versus Boston?
I would say yes. Yeah, because now the pendulum swings a little bit. I don't know if I would say totally, but the Knicks, this is their last home game in this series. You do not want to come back to Boston if you are the Knicks. So from that standpoint, yes.
So just if you want to go with the wise guys, the Celtics were favored last night in Vegas. And they should have been, and they lived up to it, and so be it. I had thought they were, by the end of it, I think by tip, they were 5-point favorites. So if they're 5-point at home, I thought tomorrow night, Game 6, it would have been at worst to pick them. Maybe the Celtics are still favored tomorrow night. Apparently, they're 3-point underdogs tomorrow. So they get that. I didn't realize it swung that dramatically. 8 points from home to road. But so now you're the underdog, and you're not expected to win. I think any given night, they're the better team. They should beat that team. Now, 3 straight's the problem. And maybe that's what Vegas is accounting for there. But make no mistake, you're not going in there undergunned. You're not going in there with the lesser team, and you have to get lucky. If you play your style, you play smart, you can and should beat the Knicks. 3 straight is another story. But first things first, Game 6 in New York. That'll be a fun one either way.
Great. If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger Mazz here. For more Celtics analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.